Welcome to John S's Sports Channel, and we're back from holiday, so we can now go into League One, and we're going to look at the predictions. We're going to look at predictions from the latest AI predictions, and we're also going to look at them versus the betting that's going on. So do stay with us. This is actually going to be really, really interesting because there's some really odd quirks about AI. AI is obviously at the minute is looking at where the clubs finished, where their strengths were when they finished. So were they finishing strong? Were they finishing weak? And then it'll look at this particular one. Will have also taken into account the sorts of movements that have occurred so far, i.e. your retained lists, but one or two clubs that have made a few interesting acquisitions, and one or two are showing that they're going to start to bring in some really good players. Now, it can look at that at the minute. However, we then look at our betting for our opening betting for League One. We're going to use to be promoted. So we're going to use the promotion odds. The promotion odds at the minute go from 11 to 10 for 11 to 10 against for Luton Town. So there are no odds on yet. AFC Wimbledon at 28 to 1. So I can see by that at the minute there's not an awful lot of difference between those. Not an awful lot at all. Certainly not as different as it was last year. I think this time last year we were reporting, we had Birmingham and Bolton at the top, didn't we? Almost on evens at certain points in the run-up. But at the bottom, we've got 28 to 1 Wimbledon. And I wouldn't be shocked, Wimbledon fans. I'd be actually quite pleased because we had 50 to 1 and 75 to 1, I think, at this time last year for the bottom one, bottom two. So, yeah, we do seem to be thinking this is not going to be quite as easy to predict this year, and it may even be even more level at the bottom than it was last year, which was. It finished so even, didn't it? That bottom section could have been won or lost on one or two defeats as Crawley started to get those wins, and even Shrewsbury started to play a little bit better and look like they might be able to get off the bottom and out of the bottom two or three. Let's see how this goes. We go straight in. We're going at the bottom. Now, the AI is predicting Wimbledon in 24th position. So, 24th position, we have Wimbledon FC. Now, Wimbledon AFC, they've done really well, haven't they? They came in from they were dreadfully taken over by whoever it was, renamed as the fake Dons, MK Dons, and they came back together and they brought themselves back to life. Going to watch the local AFC Wimbledon in the non-league, and they brought them back into League One. They've played at this. I think they've played at this level before, haven't they? But down into League Two, back into League One. Can they make it? Wimbledon have a decent side. I think Wimbledon. It's one of those sides that may just surprise people. It has got the ability. It can do well. Wimbledon in 24th, 28 to 1, only slightly out there, but as some of the people who commented negatively last year about who were obviously a part and parcel of or part of the betting companies telling me off for saying that it was close or it was the odds were way apart. Here, 28 to 1 is not a great difference from the team in 23rd position in the betting odds. Now, who does AI have in 23rd? Because this is going to be interesting because it's quite level down there. It's quite level, probably all the way up to about 19th, 18th, probably about to 19th. I think 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got about 6 teams in the bottom third here, in the bottom quarter. Sorry, and they're all very, very level. That if you look at them now as they are, before we start getting any more transfers, these bottom four are really quite level at the minute. So in 23rd, we have Burton Albion. I don't think that's anything strange. I think that Burton Albion would be expected to be in the mix this year. They only just missed the relegation last year. And I think that this year, unless they make a lot of changes down there, they're really, really going to be prone to being in that bottom, certainly bottom third, I would think. So Burton Albion are in 23rd in the odds, 24th, 23, 22, 21, 20. They're actually in 20th position on 18 to 1. So they do actually appear to be out of the relegation zone in the betting odds. Now that's obviously looking at what people think and where people. It's more about where people think that team will be going, including where you expect them to be putting their money. Are they going to be spending money? Are they not? What are the words coming out of Burton Albion, for instance? And in this case, the betsters are thinking, 18 to 1. There's got four worse teams below them in the betting odds: Exeter, Port Vale, Northampton, and Wimbledon. They believe they're going to be safe. Just again doing exactly the same as last year. Just staying out of it. But AI thinks otherwise. AI thinks that there are teams. There's only one team worse than them. That's going to be Wimbledon. In 22nd position, and again going down, we have Northampton Town. Now, this is a team that was very, very meh to me, very average during the year. What did they deserve to stay out so easily in the end? Probably did. They did just enough, but will just enough be enough to stay up this season? You've got to remember, the more teams that come up and stay up means that these average bottom six sides, like Northampton, will find it more and more hard to stay up. So we have in 22nd position in AI, Northampton Town. In 23rd position in betting, we have Northampton Town on 22 to 1, with just Wimbledon below them on 28 to 1. Which one do I think is fairer? It's going to be very, very difficult. I really cannot see the differences here. It's that bottom end is so flat. It's going to take. Yes, it will take a few really. It will take at least one marquee signing, I think, to get them out of that bottom four reckoning for me. I think 23rd, 22nd, as the AI's got, is probably about where I'd be putting them at the minute. I want to personally wait until I've got a few more transfers in the bag for the different sides before I do my personal one. So it is just for fun. Please let me know what you think your side will do if you're a League One supporter, because I'll be using your thoughts as well as my thoughts, combining them all, and then giving you a prediction based on the fans' thoughts, which will be a lot better, won't it? So we go to the last position to get relegated, and in AI we have Rotherham United. We do indeed. We have Rotherham United. AI giving Rotherham the boot. It's getting relegated. 21st position. In the betting odds, let's see where they are in the betting odds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're 10th in the betting odds on 6 to 1. Now, this is where you start looking at where people who aren't in Rotherham United are thinking Rotherham United are going to go. As far as keeping players and getting rid of players, we only got rid of 4 players. So we didn't get rid of many. We've kept most of them. And indeed, the ones that we've brought in so far have all been 3 re-signings from the kids, and I think it's 2 or 3 of the kids are being given their first contract. So so far we've lowered the level on average within our side. So whether we like it or not, they aren't at the first team standard. These younger players, whether we like it or not, they're not. We can like them to bits, but they aren't. Which means the average score per game comes down, because you have to look at the team as a whole. that is a little bit worrying for Rotherham. And when you look at how much they're going to spend, we've already been told that we spent a lot last year, apparently, but most of what Evans brought in were all freebies. His scattergun approach, buy loads and loads of freebies and hope that one or two of them are brilliant. None of them were, so not brilliant. So I don't think that's an impossible position. I don't think 21st is an impossible position for us. We need to do better. We have been playing absolutely dreadful, and I can see the 21st not being out of the can. I think that we'll finish somewhere mid-table. I'm hoping we'll finish somewhere between sort of 14th and 10th. However, don't write us off from being 21st. Absolutely not. Why we're on 6-1, which is a pretty good score, pretty good odds, I would say. It's but there's 1, 2, 3 teams on 6-1, and then one on 11-2, and you're thinking there's not an awful. It's quite flat in the middle as well. The whole league seems to be flat this year. It's like we don't really see any one team. Well, we do. We see 1 or 2 teams, perhaps running away with it. But on the whole, we've got the 3 teams coming down looking the favourites to go up, basically. Which, I think Betsters will always think that they've got slightly more money, slightly better, a lot better players in the Championship. Will they sort of ripple back straight to the League One? It hasn't happened so far. And I think putting all 3, first, second and third in the betting is really odd, because I don't think that's happened in League One for quite a while. Most of the teams that have come down from the Championship, like Portsmouth did, stayed there for a while. Ipswich stayed there for a while, and and Wednesday stayed there for a while. It doesn't tend to happen that they bounce straight back, and having all 3 straight back, well, we'll have to wait and see, won't we? But yeah, that's the levelness of League One at the minute, especially in the betting betting figures, and I think they're right. It will be very, very level. So we go to 20th position, and it's a shock for me, this one. I can't see where they've got this from. In 20th position, AI has Leyton Orient. Now, Leyton Orient obviously failed to get into the Championship. Now, a lot of the teams that failed in the final of both League One and the Championship end up doing really badly the following year. They get raided by the Championship teams, and they get raided by the teams that have just got promoted into the Championship. However, Birmingham don't need to and won't be raiding Leyton Orient, I don't think. And Wycombe Wanderers certainly aren't going to be raiding them, because they don't need to take the cream off the ones that just failed, because they'll be going for the Premier League style players. The only one that may do, and I think there has been one rumbling between it, is Charlton and Leyton Orient. Obviously, Charlton may just cream off 1 or 2 because it's a cheaper option, and in the hope that they get a Championship player out of one or two of the players in Leyton Orient. And that's why the team that loses tends to drop quite quickly down the league, and not do as well as it did the year before, and when they've lost in the final. 20th position, don't really see where AI's got that from. They finished really well for me, and they really did do exceeding well. And in the cup as well, they just did ooze confidence, didn't they? And they really played well most of the time. But they also showed that they could play average football occasionally. I think they played average against Rotherham, and Rotherham were pretty poor. So Leyton Orient, 20th position. Where are they in? That's AI. Where are they in the betting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12th on 7-1. So they're again dropped down slightly. 12th in the betting, 20th in AI. I can see why AI has put them slightly lower. Absolutely, I can understand why the intelligence system is going to think, what usually happens to the team who loses in the final? I think that's where it's really coming from. They did actually play quite well for me at the end, and they really did deserve where they finally got to. A little bit of a push, wasn't it? But they did make it. let's go into 19th position. And 19th position is where AI has Bradford City. Now, Bradford City, for me, coming up, they're going to have to do some major changes. Look, they started really well. The whole, all of the feedback I was getting at the beginning of last season was that Bradford were going to do really well and that they'd started off really strong. Their playing ability, their ability to score, they looked neat, tidy, and really good. I live on the south coast. There was a couple of Bradford City fans that were going to one of the games, one of the first games of the season, and they were buzzing. So they're playing really, really well. So I was quite confident at first about Bradford, and then they sort of faltered a little bit, but not a great deal. And then they slowly came back into it, didn't they, near the end? And I think Bradford City can consider themselves probably one of those that can stay around where this is. Actually, I think 19th is probably a good position for them. Do they need to make a few changes? I think they do. There are a couple of teams that will be definitely around them, won't they? I mean, like the teams we just said, Northampton, Burton, Wimbledon, probably, possibly Rotherham. Yeah, I can see those possibly being around where Bradford City will be. Can't see Leyton Orient being just below them, but Bradford City in 19th, and in the betting it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13th for Bradford City, 8-1. So not too much. In fact, it's interesting that Bradford City are actually one place above Lincoln City, one place below Leyton Orient, and on AI they've got them one place above Leyton Orient. So they're thinking these two teams, both in betting terms and in the AI, will be together. And I can sort of see how Leyton Orient might be a little bit poorer this season if they lose a lot of those good players, or if they have already. I've been on holiday. 19th for Bradford City. I think that is possibly, or 13th in the betting. You know, I think we're looking at the same sort of area, and I think that's probably about right. If we go to 18th in AI has Reading next. Now, Reading, obviously, they've got to go out at this season really hard and strong. You know, the fans have had such a torrid time. They need to be now free of all that garbage, and they really do deserve a better year. In 18th position, we have Reading. Now, I think Reading will have hoped that people would see them a lot higher. Betting, indeed, has them in 9th position, 6-1. Equal with Rotherham on 6-1. Now, they see them as a really upper half team, but not quite good enough to get into those top 6. I would probably agree with that. I would probably say that the top half is more of a place to put Reading at the minute. I can't quite see. Look, they did a little bit poorer at the end, and I think that's why AI has dropped them. I think that they've got to start strong this season, Reading, and if they don't, it's a little bit like the Rotherham terms from last season, where you start poorly and the heads never got lifted, and we just never played the way that we know that team could have done. And if people are sort of saying, yeah, Reading bottom half team, and they start badly, I've just got a feeling that it's going to be very difficult for the manager to pull that attitude back. And can that manager do it? Yes, I think he can. I think that 18th is slightly like that. I'd rather go with the betting odds of 9th position. I think that's probably, to me, a nearer position at the minute. But please do tell me what you think. Reading, 18th position. In 17th, another surprise here from AI, and it's Wycombe Wanderers. Now, Wycombe never had an in-depth squad, did they? Let's face it, it was a very, very narrow squad, but it was very well paid and very well selected. The whole team was absolutely brilliant. You look at most of those team names, you look at it and think, wow, how did they manage to get that one? How did they manage to get that one? And then in January, we thought would lose their loan players and they'd be so much worse in the second half. And they were a little bit worse, but I tell you what, it wasn't anywhere near as big a disaster in January as people thought. Even the Wycombe fans thought we're going to lose a lot of our good loanees because they're only there till January. It didn't occur. It didn't happen. They didn't really lose. They didn't really lose any skills. They came out of January relatively unscathed, and. It's only, I think they're only being plumped into 17th position because, again, they did so well and then, just managed to show the fact that narrow depth of squad was something I think that they looked tired. And that's about as much as I can say. They looked tired. That is an issue with League One and League Two sides. And I think that's where Wycombe fell down last season. They just had a too narrow team, not a great depth, and they felt tired. They looked tired. That's, for me, is why they're putting them in 17th. Wycombe Wanderers are 8th on 11-2 in the table, in the betting, and they're looking more at trying to keep them roughly where they were last season, but also looking at the fact that we've had 3 strong championship sides come down. And we've got the likes of Stockport and Bolton and Huddersfield. There's a lot of good teams up there. Not quite seeing Wycombe quite being able this year to keep up with them because they probably will at first, and I think AI is thinking that they'll probably keep up there at first, but then they'll get tired again and fall down. That's, I think, what the AI is thinking. I think in a part that's why the betting is putting them in 8th, just below all these really good teams that I don't think they have a little bit more depth. Just leave it at that. We'll go to Peterborough next in 16th. So AI has Peterborough in 16th. Where are Peterborough in here? 15th on 10-1. Look, I think this might be a little bit of a 10. Yeah, they're sort of going 15th, 16th, aren't they? And it's really strange because Peterborough changed the style they played last season. One of my supporters from subscribers from Peterborough says, we're getting rid of we're getting rid of key players. We're getting rid of them because we want to play a different style of football. Sometimes it worked last season, sometimes it didn't. I felt that when it didn't work, it didn't actually do badly, that side, and I think that there's just a hint of something that can be kindled from what happened last season, and I think that Peterborough will find themselves a lot better for it this season. I actually think that they'll do quite well. I think they'll be in the top half. And I think the fans will be watching an awful lot better football, a little bit more consistent this year, hopefully. So in 16th we have Peterborough United. I'm a little bit puzzled at that, and I'm puzzled at the next couple as well. But then you start seeing who's in this league, and as you go up the AI, you can see why AI's put these strange movements at the bottom. And why have they? Well, just wait and see. Look, like and subscribe, because now we get into the nice bit, the 15th position upwards, and you're thinking, why have they put this team in 15th? But wait till you see the ones above them, and you realise why they put Barnsley in 15th. Now, Barnsley 15th, really strange. In the most of the game, they played excellent football. At the end of the game, they tended to lose it. 3-0, and then lose, and then in the last few minutes, it ends up being 3-3. Equally in the first few minutes, they lose it in the first few minutes or the last few minutes. In the middle, they're okay. They've really got... I thought they'd sort out that defence. I said this time last year, they'll sort out the defence. They'll sort out the defence. And this year, I'm going to say, they're going to sort out this defence. Surely to God, this year they'll sort... I don't know. I'm hoping they will. I think the fans do deserve it. Yeah, we've got a couple of Barnsley fans who in the subscribers. Please do like and subscribe. Comment down below to tell me where you think your side is going to finish, because then I will come out with my suggestions rather than AI and the betting. So the AI has Barnsley in 15th. Where do they have them in betting? I'm looking at the wrong side there. They have them in 11th, 6-1, equal with Rotherham and Reading. So they're having them roughly in the middle. AI pulling them slightly down, but as we'll see who's above them and why. Why have they put Barnsley in 15th? And I don't think the betting is particularly pushing them up an awful lot. This side has to get that defence sorted, doesn't it? This season is a season where Barnsley have to get that defence sorted. I'm not too worried about the attack. I'm not even too worried about the midfield. You're as Matty Hampshire said this week, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And as far as I'm concerned, the weakest link is in the defence for Barnsley. Let's see if they can improve it. It's 15th position on AI is Barnsley. In 14th, and see what I mean, 14th we have Stevenage Borough. Now, Stevenage Borough were really good, I thought. I thought Stevenage Borough started to play really well at the end. They didn't, they were a bit up and down during the season. They played some good football, and they played some average League Two football. Finishing in 14th, I think, will be good for them, and they'll feel good about finishing sort of roughly in that middle position. What do the people think in the betting office? 19th on 14-1, but as you can see, the odds are very, very level, aren't they? They're even with Mansfield on 14-1, in fact, in the betting. So you can see how people are looking at this and thinking, I think Stevenage have it to finish in that middle third. But where in the middle third? People are sort of a little bit worried. I'm not quite sure whether we can think they're going to be playing consistently enough. It was a little bit up and down. If they can get the consistency, I think they will be in that middle third. 14th for Stevenage on the AI system. We're going into the last of the bottom half now. And we get in 13th position, Wigan Athletic. Now, Wigan, they played some pretty average, poor League One style football. For me, they were that squad is so much better than where it was. All the way through last season, I kept telling you, that side shouldn't be doing what it's doing. It was the same as the Rotherham side. It's got class in it. Why is the Wigan side as low as it is? It should have been at least in that upper middle, top half, lower top half. It just couldn't get there. And when it did, it seemed to falter a bit and fall back down. You're thinking, that side was much better than what it was. 13th position for Wigan Athletic. Will that make a difference in the betting then for this year? Because not a great deal happening at the minute. We were a little bit early in the season. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16th on 10-1. Wigan with on 10-1 with Peterborough on 10-1 and Lincoln on 10-1. So very, very flat there in the middle, as I've said before. Nobody quite knowing where at the minute this team's going to finish. I think Exeter are the other one as well, but certainly for me, we've got 13th in Wigan Athletic, who, much like that team, we've got Exeter bouncing around that middle third, and I think that team's good enough for me. I don't see that they need an awful lot of changes. They just need them to play better, or more consistent. At the same time, just doesn't seem to have happened. So Wigan Athletic, 13th position. I can actually see why they put them there. And we can move on to 12th. Now, 12th is a team that I've seen in AI go, all the way from 23rd, all the way to, well, probably about 10th, 9th, Mansfield Town. Mansfield Town in 12th position. I know my friend Roy is probably looking, thinking, okay, I can accept that. I think Mansfield have a very narrow squad, but they really did. They did miss Lee Gregory when he got injured for the entire season. He was their kingpin. They did seem to recover a little bit. They seemed to try and change things around. And when they were looking like they were losing, they just try a few different tricks, a few different players in that front coupling positions, and trying to get someone who could do the same, two players who could do the same as one, Lee Gregory. They did seem to find one or two people who could score in League One. And I was a little bit more positive than Roy at the end. I think that Mansfield do have a squad there that can still go forward, even in its present state. I think looking at the other teams, Mansfield have a good side. 12th position, I think it's about there, isn't it? It's I've probably put them somewhere between 9th and 12th at the minute, but yeah, we've got to look at the transfers and see what happens. Where are Mansfield in the betting? 24, 23, 22, 21, 20, 90, 18th on 14 to 1. They've got Doncaster above them on 12 to 1. They've got Stevenage on 14, Burton Albion on 18. So you're sort of, you've got to, they're sort of betting or thinking that they're going to struggle this year. A lot of AI programs have predicted that Mansfield Town will struggle and be somewhere in that sort of bottom 4 or just above it. But at the minute, we seem to be seeing one or two AI programs now doing what this one has and put Mansfield Town in 12th position, just sneaking into the top half. Hopefully Roy's happy with that. I should imagine he is. Please do tell me what your predictions are at the minute, Roy, and all the other Mansfield fans. Be very nice of you. Port Vale are now in 11th position. Now this is interesting. Where are you going to put Port Vale? The betting are 18 to 1, 22nd position for Port Vale. They're not happy that this team can make it in League One, because we had so many teams in that bottom 4, didn't we, that were playing so much better at the end and still got. I mean, Crawley started playing really good football, winning several games in. I think they won 3 out of the last 4 or something stupid, and they ended up really pushing it to the limit, but just couldn't do it. And I think all those bottom teams started to play really well. The only one that didn't have a turnaround and play suddenly a lot better at the end was Northampton. Now, Port Vale, they're going to go into this thinking that they can carry on this good form, and you can get promoted, and that sense of delight at being promoted really does take you on a really good ride. Sometimes, like Reading found out, you can go all the way to first position at Christmas for Reading in the Championship, and then they get found out and people know how to play you because you've come up from the league below, and all of a sudden you sort of drop down the league, just like Reading did. Will that happen? I think that's going to happen with Port Vale. I think they're going to have a really good start. I think that that enthusiasm, that drive to not only succeed but do well, and be up there in the top half, will take them to the top half. I think that their style of play, though, is definitely at the minute League 2. Good League 2, I agree. However, is it enough when you look at the teams around them? They put them in the 11th position for Port Vale, alongside Mansfield and the team in 10th, which I'll tell you in a minute. Another shocker. I think actually they put them, when you look at where AI's put who they put AI above them, you see why it's a difficult league to predict, especially even for AI. So where has AI got at them? Port Vale in 11th, let's just say. I think that's probably at the top level of where I'd put them. I think that they will be higher than that, but I think they'll probably drop down. Will they make it make that change from League 2 style football to League 1? There's a little bit of a difference. I don't think there's a huge difference. Maybe. I think we've got to wait and see, haven't we? Much like what most of you tell me. before I did the last video of predictions of my own. So who did they put above Port Vale? In 10th position, we have Huddersfield Town. Now, I've got my last comment received on my predictions video that I did was from a Huddersfield Town fan. Yeah, we did play. You'll not find anyone in the Huddersfield community saying they played well. They did play poorly, and they didn't play as good as they should have done. That whole team. I think one of the things that I didn't realise that one of the Huddersfield fans told me was that when they changed their manager, they'd not scored a goal at home since that year, since January the 1st. And you're thinking, I didn't realise that, you know. And then they changed their manager. I think they scored 4 the next home game. And we thought that they'd change and they'd start playing well. But even then, they seemed to like a little surge of playing really well for the new manager. And then they collapse again. That team's got to be able to get back to winning ways. It's got a good set of players in there. It's got players of £1 million plus valuation. The value of that side says they should be in the top 6 at least. In 10th position, then we have in AI Huddersfield Town. Where do they sit in the betting odds? Well, they sit 4th on 10-3, so roughly 3-1. So every 3 times you play, you would roughly see them in that promotion, getting promoted. So they have them in the top 6. And I would say that's probably a good bet. I think that Huddersfield can get up there. I think that they might not. Absolutely. I think that there is a worry that mentality, if they don't have a clean sweep and a clean change, could see them in that 10 slot. I think that's probably the lowest anyone that I've seen anyone put them. But yeah, I think it's more likely the betting side. I think 10-3 is probably about right. Huddersfield Town, 10th position. We're going into the top 9 now, and in 9th we have Doncaster Rovers, and I can't believe this. Doncaster Rovers above Huddersfield, and I'm thinking, you have to be manic, don't you? I can't see that. There must be something, a reason why Doncaster Rovers are being touted at in that position. 9th position, Doncaster Rovers, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17th in the betting odds at 12-1. And that's a big difference. I think roughly they're thinking Doncaster Rovers are going to be somewhere in that middle third, and it's quite a stable middle third, quite a long. There's quite a lot of teams, and we'll discuss that in my prediction video in probably a couple of weeks' time, when we've got a few more people coming back to training and a few more people recruited. But as you say, Doncaster Rovers, 9th position. In 8th, and we've got to think about this as how well they did last season, we have Lincoln City. And Lincoln City actually started off really well. Then they sort of dropped back, didn't they? And they tried to get... They went a little bit off the boil for a while. They didn't play bad. They just went off the boil. But it went off the boil for quite a while. And they nearly started pushing back into that top 6, but just couldn't do it at the end of the day. Lincoln City in 8th position, probably about right. There's 1 or 2 surprises yet to come in the AI system, at least 1. In 8th position, Lincoln City. In the 10th, 12th, 13th, 14th position in the betting on 10-1. There's 3 teams on 10-1. Like I say, Lincoln, Peterborough and Wigan. You can see where they're putting them. They're putting them with those teams that could have been from last season. There could have been. We could have done well. We should have done well. And that's where they're putting Lincoln City. And I can see why the betting puts them there. And I can see why AI is thinking, yeah, they may be with that should have beens. But most of the time, they were actually above that level. So whether they finish there, I don't think matters. I think what we should be looking at is most of the season they were up further in a more productive situation, should we say. The last team, I think, to be a real shock here is for AI is in 7th, because we have Exeter City in 7th. Now, I've been looking at some of the words that and the wording that's been coming out of Exeter. Quite interesting. They do seem to be trying to push for a few good changes. Will they do these changes? Will they get the players they want? Probably not, because the teams they're against transfer-wise are a lot higher than what they are, and are predicted for a lot higher. Will the players come? Look, I hope they do, and Exeter have a good place in my heart. You know, that's where we used to go on holiday, me and the wife, when she was alive. I think 7th position, Exeter City for AI is a little high. However, where are they in the betting? They're in 21st on 18-1. But as I said, 18-1. I get together with Burton Albion on 18-1 and Port Vale on 18-1. Yeah, these are three sides that are a little bit unknown. Burton Albion started playing a little bit better football, didn't they, near the end? Will they continue that this year? Exeter City, they showed that they could do well. They came right out of that relegation fight, and they ended up clear of it. Will they continue like they finished? Port Vale, we don't know what they're going to do. Absolutely no idea. People are just guessing at the minute. And until we see what their final squad's like, I don't think anybody has a clue. So in 7th position, I think we have Exeter City. I think that's a little bit... I wouldn't be putting them in 21st, but there again, someone's got to be there. This league is really, really level this year. Exeter City, we have in 7th position. In 6th position, we have one of the first of the three to come down, and it's Cardiff City in 6th position. And Cardiff City are a team that had a lot of financial woe a few years ago, and they came through that, and they showed that they could spend, and they did have the money now to be able to push the boundaries just a little bit, and I thought they were doing really well. Made a few decent signings, and I thought that they'd managed to stay up. They didn't. They came down 6th position. Where are they in the betting? Well, they've got them in 2nd position on 9-4. So they look like going straight up according to the betting. And that's because they've obviously got a championship squad. Will they keep the championship squad? Does look like they'll keep the championship squad. Will they be in that top 3-4? I think that there's a good chance they will. However, occasionally you get a side that just doesn't. The playing style between Championship and League One is different. Birmingham found that. They thought they'd find it really, really easy. They did in the end, but at first they just didn't quite know how to get past that style of play. And there were 1 or 2 draws that they got. They thought they should have won that. And you look at the stats, they should have won it. But the style of play just flunks them a little bit. And will that happen to Cardiff City? I think here that's what they're thinking, that the style and the style that League One has, the more in-your-face and hard tackling, may not be what Cardiff City are used to. They don't quite like it. However, we have Cardiff City in 6th position, 2nd in the betting. Personally, I think it may be somewhere between those two. Can't guess where, but it's somewhere in that top 6, I should think. So we go into the top 6 now with, in 5th place, the other side to come down, which is Plymouth Argyle. Where are they in the betting? 3rd position, 5-2 against. Now, these aren't amazingly brilliant. No, that's 2.5-1. Not bad, but it's not. You're going to run away with it. They have got a lot of really good players. The manager they got in, really good, a lot better than Rooney. Unfortunately, what I said about Rooney did come true. I thought he'd last at least until Christmas. I don't think I was too far wrong with my predictions there. Plymouth Argyle in 5th. They got Plymouth Argyle in 3rd. I think it's going to be somewhere, isn't it? They've got to be somewhere up there. They have got a championship squad now. They did pay to get some really good players. I found it. I thought it was a little bit disappointing. They'd played so well the season before to stay up, and I thought they did it with relative ease. This season, I think it was just far too level at the bottom in the championship, wasn't it? It was, all right, lick your finger and who's going to go down. Unfortunately, Plymouth was one of them. Plymouth Argyle, 5th in League One. In 4th, we have a team that's probably thinking, yeah, okay, they've got us in roughly the same position as we finished last season. We got Stockport County. Stockport were playing decent League One football for me. They weren't brilliant. They weren't outstanding when they played Rotherham, but they were certainly better than what we were. However, 4-1, the betting's got them on 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th position on 4-1. Equal with 4-1 Stockport with Blackpool, which is interesting. So we've got Stockport and Blackpool there in 4-1. It's 6th and 7th. And we've got them in 4th. So I don't think there's too much difference. They are sort of thinking the same thing. And I think that Stockport will be about there. They will be around there. Let's see whether if they can push it here. I think realistically, they can't push it too much more. There's a lot of other teams like the Huddersfield, for instance, that I would expect to be in that top mix, and there's going to be a lot of sides wanting that top 6 position. 4th position for me is probably a little bit high. There's a few really good teams in there this year that are going to be not as strong as what Birmingham were or Wrexham, but I think they'll be certainly pushing for those top 6 positions. So Stockport County in 4th position. Blackpool are in 3rd. And that's an interesting one. I've seen some interesting, do we say, not news yet. It's more sort of transfer hints and transfer things that they're trying to do. They're trying to get in some really impressive championships players. And they're even, there's a few murmurings about a couple of players from the Premier League. Blackpool are going for it. Blackpool are trying to get the players in for certain. And like I said, they're equal with Stockport on 4-1 in the betting as well. So they're actually equal, 3rd and 4th with Stockport in the AI. And they're even in betting 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th on 4-1. So again, they're expecting these two teams together in betting. They're thinking the same with AI. Blackpool, for me, underperformed just a little bit. When they changed manager, they actually did play a lot better at home. They've got to do better away. If they can sort that away form out, much like Rotherham, 2 years without a win away from home, less about a week. I think Blackpool are similar. They've been playing really, really well at home, but away from home, just not good enough. If they can do that, they can be in that top 4, absolutely. In 3rd position, Blackpool. 2nd position now. So we go for the top 2 teams. And once again, we see Bolton Wanderers in the top 2. They were in this top 2 position last season at this point, weren't they? We were all saying Bolton Wanderers going to do really well, and they played pretty good. Consistently pretty good. An attacking side, yes, but playing from the back. Not what... look, I know that Bolton fans will try shooting me down for saying this. They're not an attacking side. They like to attack, but they like to attack from the back. They like to build from the back and go forward, like they did against Birmingham. It wasn't it wasn't an all-out attacking performance where you try and push high up the pitch and keep the ball up there and constantly batter the away goal. This is a side that can attack playing from the back. Very shrewd, very, very good technically, and very strong when they get it into the final third. And I can see it still doing just as well this season, but they've got to try and get a little bit more consistent, because they had some really good games and they had some pretty meh games. if they can get a lot more consistency, then first or second is absolutely in their grasp. Because so far we've not really come across a team that really lights up the league. In second position, AI has Bolton Wanderers. Bolton Wanderers are actually first, second, third, fourth, fifth on 7-2. So they've got a good chance in the betting. People do think they're going to be up there. Bolton Wanderers, second position. That leaves one place left. It leaves first position in betting, and in AI goes to Luton Town. You have to be thinking this team has so much money. They still have the umbrella payment from the Premier League, and they're allowed to spend it in League One. League One has no FFP really. They don't expect teams to spend money because they're all third tier teams. This team can and probably will spend a chunk of that. The reason why they didn't spend last year, before you start hammering me, is because they had to spend on the ground. The ground took a lot of that money, and they had to make it a lot better if they wanted to get back into the Premier League. Because it really wasn't good enough for that Premier League, was it? They've tried to do that, but at the expense of players, and that's where for me they faltered last year. They needed to stop and perhaps rethink the ground thing, and just try and stabilise the players instead. Let's not do the ground so much. Let's stop and think about the players and just staying in the Championship. Mismanagement, possibly, but it certainly wasn't something on the pitch that went wrong. I think for them it was off the pitch. This season I don't think you'll find the same problem. Because the ground situation is all but sorted out, and I think that we will see a lot more put into the playing side. So we have 11-10, almost evens for Luton Town, and in first position, Luton Town. Please do tell me what you think. It's John S Sports Channel for his first video after his holiday. Please do like and subscribe. If you don't like what I say, just tell me what your thoughts are down below, and try not to click the dislike. It just stops the video from going round, and I am trying my best, and I will keep on while ever people do give me a quick thumbs up. I'll keep on going. It's a little bit difficult at the minute to get past with a few people obviously showing their dislike so much, but hey, thick-skinned a little bit. John S Sports Channel. Please do like and subscribe.